think that for people to vote and get excited and engage, you need to be looking at politicians who look like you, who are representing your views and understand your life. And I think if you looked at the council chamber, even up until this May, you would have found a lot of white retired people who have amazing expertise and experience, but you know, somebody younger than me is not going to see that person and think, oh, local government's exciting. Whereas what we've got now, we've got, I think, 5 BME councillors, and then we've got Marvin, we've got at least 9 or 10 people on our side, on the Labour side, that have got primary school age children, guys and women. Yeah. And that just means that we have to see things differently. We have to approach things in a different way. And whether that's the mechanism of the institution, like how long our meetings are and what time our meetings are and how much procedures involved versus actually getting things done, or whether it's the things that we're talking about. So we've got a massive opportunity, but it's a huge task. And to try and turn that around and just get that interest back.
Just making it even possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was trying to convince someone I know. There's a fantastic woman. She's married. Husband's a teacher, she's a teacher, they were involved in foster care, she has a real passion about kids in care, she's an artist, and when I asked her about, well, would you consider running for council, and she knows I'm still trying to get her to run, she said, one is I couldn't cope with the childcare, and the other was we can't financially do it, because the councillors don't actually get a big allowance. No. So trying to survive on her councillor's allowance, with all the hours that are demanded of a councillor, with her husband's wage who's a teacher. So we as a city just lost access to someone who would have been a fantastic city councillor because of the childcare and the financial remuneration. I never say that. The allowance of our councillors getting money. And that's a real shame. Yeah.
And I mean, I've got an example of this actually, which one of my co-councillors very kindly said to me, look, there is childcare, because I've got 3 kids that are 1, 4 and 6. So, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Just a little.
Yeah, luckily I have got a very supportive husband who helps out and doesn't see it as a chore. So that, we're really
It would be
lucky.
Impossible otherwise.
It would be impossible.
I know, as a single mum, how difficult
utterly
it is.
Impossible.
Yeah.
But so I approached the council and just said, look, I've heard that there's a childcare allowance. Can you sort of tell me a bit about that? And it took a few days, but that's based on if you use childcare from a registered childminder.
That's right. Yeah.
So if I was to get a babysitter to cover a couple of hours,
that won't work.
Because all our meetings start at 6:30, which is you've got the child.
Yeah.
Peak. Marvin's got very peak time for chaos.
Yeah, and my school don't even do an after-school club on a Friday.
No.
It's like you don't work Fridays, you can't. Yeah. So
So unless you're using someone who can provide you with an invoice, you can't get that covered. And that's a really small practical thing. I can see you're ticking over, thinking.
I'm thinking we've got to sort that out.
Childcare for the position for mums to work is incredibly hard in this country. And as a single mum, I've not been able to do it. I've got no family to support me, no partner, no dad on the scene. I've just had to stop working. I had no choice, and I know I'm not alone in that.
But there's so much talent in whatever field, and in our field, in politics, I think that the most suitable people for the job of city councillor are community activists that are already out there doing amazing things. Like Asher Craig, who's just been elected. Yeah. Those are the people that we should be scooping up and saying, we need you actually to be in a position to make decisions.
Absolutely.
But we can't do that because there's a mechanism to political parties as well, and that involves evening meetings and getting your name known and schmoozing and all the rest of it. It's just not possible for everyone, and we've got to find ways to make it more accessible. We have to.
Absolutely. So Marvin, have you got any bright ideas, or are you just something you're just working on?
I'll tell you one first thing that we are trying to do, which is the point of being here today. We're trying to set an example. So I go into work. Someone advised me, at least one day a week, make sure you take your children to work. So Monday I do a short day. The other days are very long, but Monday I go in at 10 and I leave by 3:45. So I walk my boys to school and I take them to jiu-jitsu, Impact Gym, just to give them a nice shout out. Impact. So I do that, and we've also come up with other rules that I am not out every night. So in my first few weeks, there were some nights where I come home at 9 o'clock or after every night. I never saw my little girl.
Of course.
She's 1 year old. I didn't see my boys. Now, again, that's not just a shame for me. It's how do we set an example of how we make this system work? How do we make sure that bureaucracy works in a way that facilitates people to have families? As Helen said, if the system rules out people who have families and children, we'll end up with one kind of politician, and inevitably, when they start to make rules and policies, it will be in their understanding and their interest, and therefore we compound the disadvantage facing people who were excluded from politics in the first instance. So we need to look at childcare. We've made a commitment around childcare. One of the things I do want to explore, if I can say it earlier, this isn't a commitment here, but I want to explore the possibility of establishing our own childcare company in Bristol, publicly owned, so it becomes affordable, accessible, dynamic. We can use it as a gateway to employment for people coming back into the workforce and so forth as well. So we need to explore these things. I think we have to have a corporate social responsibility standard around our private sector, making sure that we think not just about making money in Bristol, but the way people make money in Bristol.
Absolutely.
And actually, even in line with small business, can we support small business with childcare needs of their employees also?
Yeah, so
as
when
well.
you think about the amount of women like myself and Helen who can't work, then you're missing out on a huge workforce. So addressing this is great, and I'm really excited.
Ruth Pickersgill, who's a fantastic councillor, just got elected to represent Easton as well. Lucky Easton is where I live. She's been talking about poverty proofing the school day, breakfast clubs and after school supper clubs as well, just to lengthen the day, but to make sure children, at the same time we're tackling the food poverty that some of our kids face. We can be doing stuff around nutrition, after school homework clubs. But again, what we got to be, this is all joined up, right? So it's not just another burden for schools, it's how do we help schools do this? How do we get our sports clubs involved, for example, with those activities?
And we also have to recognise how families function now as well. So Ruth has, she's an amazing grandma as well. She's a, second carer for her grandson, and so it's about, and there'll be elderly people that have caring responsibilities at home as well. So it's about projecting what we would like to see in our community into the wider community of Bristol and the politics of Bristol, and we need input to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you for addressing that. I'm really enthused by what you're saying as well, because it just means that, for myself included, as well as a lot of women out there and a lot of other family members, that it could be a light at the end of the tunnel, which there hasn't been.
Well, would you like to contribute to a piece of work that we do on this?
Of course.
We could link up with the Women's Commission and maybe
Absolutely.
using your position as a presenter on Ujima. I think there's also the change in the nature of relationship between political leadership and the city. Even in the opening questions, it's not a question of, okay, now you're elected, what you can do about this, what you can do about that.
Yeah.
It's now you're elected, this is what needs to happen, are you going to do it? When I was looking at the Black Development Agency, that's what I said. We need to move beyond just asking politicians what are the solutions to our problems, to saying, this is our problem as we understand it, these are the solutions, can you deliver the solution?
Absolutely.
Take much more charge and empowerment in relationship to decision.
Rather than being an armchair critic as well. Listen, we've got a few more minutes, and I really...
Welcome to Jamrock.
No, will you chill out? He's asked me now for about 3 times for me to play one of my all-time favourite tracks. But we don't have time for music today, Marvin, because you're a busy man. And you have a meeting to go to. And your lovely PR man, John, who sat there patiently.
You're not supposed to mention it.
I can't not mention it. He worked so hard, bless him. Anyway, listen.